welcome to my Thursday night live here on YouTube. Tonight I'm going to be talking about intergenerational patterns and trauma. Now this is something that affects all of us because most people are aware these days that things are passed down through your ancestral lineage, passed down to us, and they think it's through genetics, as in DNA and the solid aspect of it, the physical aspect of it. Everything's passed down genetically, but it's not necessarily activated that genetics is going to affect you in this lifetime. There has to be something above that through the consciousness, the epigenetics, that stimulates that particular program to start running in your system. So people like Bruce Lipton talk about epigenetics and how illness is not necessarily passed down. But on a level of consciousness, things are passed down. Everything is passed down through our ancestral lineage to us and to our children and so on and so forth. Recently I did a quick video about the 100th monkey effect, how the monkeys on one island, when they learn to wash the fruit, the monkeys on a completely different island, so you had to go across the ocean on a boat to get to it. Once there was 100 monkeys that had learned to wash the fruit, the monkeys on the other island just naturally began to do it. And that's the similar thing that we're talking about here. It's like epigenetics, the field of consciousness, and how that knowledge, that information, that data is passed on through what we consider to be empty space. It's not really empty space. There's no such thing as empty space unless you've got a vacuum. So what are intergenerational patterns? Well, things like behavioural patterns and programs and the dynamics of the relationships in families and so on and so forth are intergenerational patterns. How children behave in school can be linked to intergenerational patterns, and our belief systems around religion, for example, is often intergenerational and passed down from our parents or grandparents and so on and so forth. So there are some positive things that can be passed down, obviously knowledge and wisdom and storytelling and things like that. But on a psychological level, on a spiritual level, there are other things that can be passed down. Even if we don't think that they're being passed on to us, they are in our field, they're in our consciousness. Take racism, for example, and it's a really delicate subject. But if you go back over the centuries, there were many, many white people that were frightened of black people because of it. They were told that they were bad and dangerous and so on. And that spreads through the community, and that is passed down through intergenerational patterns, even to people that don't necessarily think that they are racist. On some level, there may be some fear. And it works both ways, you know, with people of colour and the white man being labelled as the bad guy. So it does work both ways. You know, I'm on the fence with all of this. All of these things can be healed. I don't believe there's any psychological problems at all that humanity have got that can't be healed using the one portal and the techniques that I use, because it's having the knowledge base to be able to go in to the epigenetics, the field of consciousness that is in and around the physical body, in and around the DNA that carries these programs and patterns and belief systems. And when we're connected through the sun to one, we've got the opportunity to change the frequency of them. And everything is energy, sound, colours, everything that exists. So bringing through that higher frequency through source, through one, through the void, into a person's energy field with intent and directed using the one portal, the old patterns and programs can be removed and replaced with source energy or with the bliss energy, which is basically giving everyone a blank slate. I've been trying to reach out to people for a long time to get some kind of mass healing going to take racism out. It's a massive problem on the planet still, and it's one of those things that people don't like to talk about. And it's a difficult subject for a lot of people, but it still exists. Unfortunately, it's shocking in this day and age that it still exists, but it does. So intergenerational stuff can be all sorts of things, which is beliefs about schooling, beliefs about relationships, beliefs about religion, beliefs about myths and legends and things like that can all be passed on intergenerationally. As can beliefs about health. People that believe that they can inherit bad genes from their parents or grandparents, and that those bad genes are going to give them the disease that their grandparents or parents have had, activate that coding in their DNA because of their belief system, because we create what we focus on. And it only takes one traumatic incident then that can start, one cell goes bad in the body, goes rogue, and then there's a weak spot and it starts to accumulate. So belief systems are really important. When people believe that because their grandmother, for example, had breast cancer, that they're going to get breast cancer, they're actually stimulating those codes in their system to put themselves at more risks. People like Bruce Lipton talk about the biology of belief, and if you've had ancestors, parents, grandparents that have had diseases like that, and you state with passion that I'm not going to get that, then you've put the block on that and those encodements that are in your DNA. Everything's in our DNA. They talk about 13.5 billion different things in our DNA now. And it's all there, but it's whether it gets stimulated or not. It's whether it gets activated. And we're the ones that activate that through our belief systems, through our words, through our focus, also through what we're consuming, food and beverages. There's different types of disease in the body. I've read that 87% of it is linked to mental and emotional trauma in the system that hasn't been dealt with, such as grief, for example, which is a big one. Most of us have to go through some kind of grief process in our lives, whether it's through losing a pet or a friend or family members or something like that. And that, leaves its mark in our system. And then eventually, as we get older, you would see the older people with their aches and pains and stuff like that. And it's emotional trauma that is created a backlog in their system. That the pain, the emotional pain, when there's enough of it, creates an imbalance in the system, energy blocks in the system, and this leads to physical pain and so on and so forth. But if we deal with things straight away, if we deal with the emotions and the feelings straight away, then by the time we get to old age, we're obviously doing some exercise and eating healthily and not over drinking alcohol or anything like that, then we're not going to suffer from these problems because we've dealt with them through our lives. And lots of cultures actually do that. Shamanic cultures, they actually treat trauma as they're going through, from children, from babies even, through children, through teenagers, using plant medicines and things like that, microdosing and stuff like that to help release trauma. But the intergenerational stuff, if you look back over the centuries, just how much harm has been done to certain cultures, genocide, the rape and pillage of villages, and things that have happened to the indigenous people being taken from their families and put into these residential schools and stuff like that. There is a massive problem in those communities with addiction and stuff like that, because later on this intergenerational trauma starts to get a hold of people, and the pain is there, and it's passed on etherically, it's passed on through the consciousness, through the field, and it's passed on through communities. If it's like bees in a hive, they're all linked vibrationally to one another, and whatever's gone on in the past, those energies don't go away. those memories don't go away unless they're actually cleared away using something like plant medicines or meditation or energy healing or something like that. Certainly not anything chemical is going to clear it. It has to be something natural that's going to clear this and replace it with something positive. So all of these things are really important, and we're going through a phase at the moment. I've spoken recently about the eclipse energies and how the blue ray is coming in through the mind. So a lot of mind stuff is coming up at the moment for people, and old memories coming back to us from things that have happened to us in the past that could have been 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago. That memories start coming back up in our systems for us to be able to, oh God, I remember that really bad thing happened, and release it, and accepting it and releasing it and letting it go from our system. And then our frequency goes up. With the ascension that's happening with the consciousness on the planet at the moment, nobody can ignore what's in their systems. Nobody can ignore the traumas that they've experienced and be pushing these things down and putting them in a box so that pretending it didn't happen, or not dealing with it, because eventually these energies that are coming in through the sun that are going into our crown chakras and down through us into the earth are put on there, shaking all of this up. Everything's being stirred up to be released from the system, and the way to do that is through healing, through meditation, and this kind of thing, shamanic work, however, spiritual healing, however you choose to do that. But it has to be looked at. So what's going on at the moment, there's a lot of intergenerational stuff coming through. I've spoken before how the planets hold on to our karma and our memories and our intergenerational stuff, and this stuff is being passed down through the energy field, through the ethers, into our systems to stimulate those memories so that we can face it and help clear it, not only for ourselves but for our ancestral lineage. If we get together through things like my Patreon channel, where we come together and I open the one portal and we do a different healing on that every time, and then we meditate together. If we come together with something like that and we set our intentions that we would like to release what needs to be released, and our higher self, with the one I'm doing on Patreon, higher self is choosing what needs to be released for us, then we can clear these things with the intention of sending out forgiveness, releasing unforgiveness, releasing the fear, the hate, the xenophobia, all of this other stuff that's in our system that's ancestral. You go back a few hundred years to civil war in America, for example, the amount of fear and hatred and bigotry and racism and the killing and stuff like that went on, all of that energy of those memories still exists. But when we come together and we meditate together, on my Patreon channel, the intention is to clear it for the highest good of everyone concerned. That's what our meditation on that platform is about. It's about clearing it for everyone. So we can come together and we can set our intentions. We can set a request when we do come together that we'd like to release this for our ancestral lineage and hold forgiveness as spokespeople for our ancestors. They're not here to speak on their own behalf, but we can set intentions that we would like to offer forgiveness, to be sending that forgiveness out to the cultures that have harmed our ancestors, or asking for forgiveness from the cultures that our ancestors have harmed. There's no innocent parties in all of this. Everything, what goes around comes around. We've all been here before. We've all done bad things to other humans and animals and the planet at some point in our existence, in our multi-dimensional lifetimes. But when we come together and we pray together and we meditate together, we can have such a massive, powerful effect on the overall frequency of the mass consciousness that's creating our world, that's creating our reality. And the reason this is so important is because history repeats itself. So this is what's been going on with what's happened in the, a couple of years ago. I've got to be careful what I say. Experimentation, for example, things like that. Is history repeating itself? A lot of that stuff went on in the 1930s, 40s, experimentation on humanity and things like that. So when we clear these old frequencies, we're reprogramming the construct of the reality of the mass consciousness for not only ourselves, but for our ancestors, for our children, our children's children, and for everyone in our community and everyone on the planet, and not just the people, for the animals and for Mother Earth, who is a living, breathing entity in her own right. So this is really important that we understand that when we get triggered by certain things, or we've got opinions on certain things, that it could be ancestral stuff, an ancestral pattern that's in your system, and you're thinking, why did I feel like that about that? Why did that trigger me? Why did that upset me? I didn't realise, that I was frightened of people from another country or something like that. And it's probably because it's an intergenerational pattern that's been passed down, and your higher consciousness has made you aware of it by taking you into an experience that has allowed that to come up in your system so that you can heal it. Okay, so that's just a quick word on intergenerational patterns and trauma. It can all be healed. All of these things can be healed, and that's what many of us are on the planet to do at this, at this point in history. This epoch is about healing and evolution and forgiveness, and bringing in not just the love, the pure love of absolute source energy and forgiveness. And let's wipe the slate clean and start from scratch, from our heart centers. We can spend another 2, 3, 4 centuries fighting about what our ancestors did in the past and who was right and who was wrong and all these other things, but what's the point? It doesn't get anyone anywhere. The most important thing that we can learn to do is forgive and let it go. It's not saying that forgiving is saying it was okay, but it's forgiving for many reasons, because unforgiveness sticks in the heart. It sticks in the heart chakra. It stops the love being in that place instead. So learning about unforgiveness, and even if you're at home and you pray or do what you do, your spiritual belief systems, whatever they are, even just setting those intentions in prayer that if it's appropriate, I'd like to forgive all the nations, all the people that have hurt me or my ancestors in this lifetime, in other lifetimes, on a multi-dimensional level. And it's a really powerful prayer to put out there, that intention, and from the heart mean it. Because asking one God, creator, whatever source your belief system is, to neutralize and purify those old frequencies and those old memories is helping the world to evolve. It's helping humanity, all earthlings, to evolve to a higher frequency and a higher bandwidth. So it's really powerful. So thanks for joining me, guys. If you've got any subject matters that you would like me to chat about on here, please do leave a message below. Remember to subscribe if you haven't subscribed to me before, and click on the little bell so that you get notification when I go live. I should be doing Tuesdays and Thursdays now at 7 p.m. Pacific. And if you've got, as I say, if you've got something you would like me to talk about, please do leave a comment below. If you've got something you want to share, please do feel free to do that. Okay, so thanks for joining me, guys. Have a great evening, great day, wherever you are. Lovely weekend coming up. Hope the sun is shining for you, and I will see you all again soon. Bye for now.